Much like dozens of other Americans, I spent my Sunday evening relaxing, watching the 94th Annual Academy Awards. I was excited about the opportunity to play Oscar Bingo, waiting for the inevitably milquetoast moments of centrist and liberal showmanship, B-tier jokes, and worst of all, Amy Schumer. This would, in a perfect world, be occasionally interrupted by Dune winning Best VFX, or by a god-awful movie with a fan base that is chronically, debilitatingly online, somehow winning the Fan Favorite Award. But boy, was I wrong. Not about any of that stuff, actually, save for Amy Schumer, who I actually found quite funny. But that was probably because of the Leonardo DiCaprio joke from a year ago that she stole off of Twitter, recycled off of Twitter, into her talking points. No. What I got was even more entertaining. This was no ordinary derailing train wreck where the cars sort of just fall off the tracks a bit slower than you'd expect, crash and skid out for a bit. This was a train wreck from Hollywood. Real fake explosions, crunching metal, and sparks flying as destruction rains down like it's some sort of Michael Bay, Roland Emmerich crossover, but more liberal and less stereotypically racist.
My rim killed Megatron. How about that? Well, he didn't get the job done, you know what I mean? Because he's back now. You scared?
I got the world's most famous cuckold, Will Smith, performing a slap to the face to Marty from Madagascar. A slap so deviously calculated it seemed like it was performed by an animatronic in the Chuck E. Cheese band. A slap so confusing as to whether or not it was real. It single-handedly won Will Smith his first Oscar for Best Actor in a leading role hours later. A slap so cataclysmic that it forced every liberal blue check on Twitter to come up with the worst takes in human history, read them, think, yeah, this'll do numbers, then post them. We're talking Hitler comparisons. Of course, the blue check liberals were immediately outdone by even more horrendous opinions on the subject from every comedian with an excuse for a set. For clarification, I am using air quotes around the term comedian here, because the only thing funny about some of these people is how important they think they and their profession are. Air quotes on profession as well. But wow, holy hell. If you thought my review of Moonfall was scathing, get ready, because this week, it's another disaster movie. That's right, baby, I'm covering the Oscars. And with my viewership numbers on this channel, I am single-handedly going to double the coverage this event would otherwise have received. Now, the subtitle of this video is, Why People Should Not Be Allowed to Have Opinions Sometimes. This is slightly misleading because there are some people who should never be allowed to have opinions. Namely, whoever on God's less green everyday earth believed that these thoughts were brilliant enough to be permanently placed online. This is all made even worse by the fact that I now know, for a brief moment in history, I was unfortunately in agreement with Dave Portnoy. Also, apologies about the loudness of the censorship in my last video. It was just a subtle metaphor for the deafening silence that cancel culture is forcing upon comedic talents such as myself. This is truly a most oppressive age where private corporations are able to decide who they do business with. We need someone down to earth, someone in touch with the common man, to bring us back out of this dark cave that Plato or whoever the hell was talking about the cave allegory. We need Elon Musk. No, I'm just kidding, he's an idiot. We need Hollywood liberals wearing Ukraine pins, and also asking for your donations and support with intermission graphics while probably not providing any donations themselves. And also, immediately tweeting after the fact about how Will Smith slapping Chris Rock in front of a crowd that thought it was all a joke and then was confused about it is basically the same thing as the reign of Nazis in Germany and Hitler's rise to power. This tweet right here could probably be the reason that America collapses, if it hasn't already collapsed. And I am sorry to keep bringing it up, but I truly cannot put into words how stupid, out of touch, and downright unable to read a room someone needs to be in order to think about putting this out for the world to see, believing that the world will in fact agree with them as well. I have been far more embarrassed about thoughts that have never even left my brain. So anyway, enough about this clearly unrelated topic. Back to the room of older white men circle jerking each other for 4 hours on live TV on an annual basis. Now honestly, despite only seeing like 7 of the movies in contention for anything serious, Encanto, Tick, Tick, Boom, Nightmare Alley, Dune, Mitchells vs. the Machines, Don't Look Up, and Luca, it seemed like the winners were somewhat deserved. Plus, I got to see Kenneth Branagh without a comically large mustache, which was fun. And then I felt hollow when 19-year-old Billie Eilish won a coveted award for a medium she doesn't even normally operate in, while I am 23 and make YouTube videos about my favorite things that get a dozen views. So that was depressing, but okay, moving on. Now, I am sure you can probably guess that I am not the biggest fan of the Oscars, their organizers, or even their participants. Honestly, I watch them with 60% ironic mocking intentions, 30% interest in who actually wins the stuff, and 10% because I think various dudes are hot. Andrew Garfield and J.K. Simmons. But there is another category of people who I am even less a fan of. People who believe themselves to be more qualified at making these Oscar decisions by virtue of being themselves or existing. Honestly, I am not sure what else to describe it as. It is like an alarmingly large percentage of their lives and personalities are dedicated to this bit of pop culture, and therefore the only way they can feel comfort is if this piece of pop culture is the only topic of discussion, anytime, anywhere, ever. Like it is the only thing they are capable of being good at, so they can never let go of that one thing. There's a really fantastic Roger Ebert quote about this that puts it far better than I ever could. I'm relatively positive that it was about Star Wars fans, and in that instance, it is for sure correct. But it has also come to apply to an increasing number of fandoms in recent years, notably the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Zack Snyder movies, and Disney in general. Disney adults kinda disturb me, but that's a story for another day. This is not to say that people can't enjoy things. In fact, I am 100% in support of people enjoying things. Hell, if my shame and lack of money weren't stopping me, there's a guarantee that I would buy a movie-accurate Batman costume and wear it while brooding around Manhattan. But please, I am begging the internet and its users to stop thinking that they are intelligent or are in any way qualified for this kind of thing. Just because you have decent grades in school or whatever does not mean your opinion on the Best Picture nominees holds any weight whatsoever. Is the Academy out of touch? Yes. Was Mitchell's vs. the Machines robbed of a Best Animated Feature win? Also yes. But is your opinion about how Best Picture should go to Spider-Man No Way Home any better? No. Absolutely not. It is, in fact, a tremendous step down in almost every conceivable way. Infinitely worse. The only thing that would make it any worse than that is if it was Army of the Dead instead of No Way Home. But that's okay. Not everything needs to be for you. Awards-oriented movies are allowed to win awards, and No Way Home isn't being discriminated against. It's made like $2 billion. Please just enjoy its monopolization of the box office and rest. It's over. The biggest company in the world isn't being bullied by Hollywood elitists. Disney's actual good movie won Best Animated Film. You can calm down. This next bit will be dedicated to why No Way Home should not have won anything, because if I'm going to claim something, I should be able to back it up. If you feel you will be personally offended by this, I advise you to skip ahead, and to consider asking yourself why you would be personally offended by this. Perhaps there is a more pressing issue than my dissenting opinion on the movie that should be addressed. Okay, the good first. Like I say, I understand there are people who work hard on every movie that is made, and that a piece of them is in these works. No Way Home was an incredible experience, and I use the word experience very carefully, but we'll get to that soon. It has really solid performances from all three Spider-Men, bringing the former Spiders back in ways that feel appropriate and respectful, and even redeeming for Andrew Garfield. Bar the Mysterio hallucination sequence in Far From Home, No Way Home contains one of the best Spider-Man action set pieces in the MCU when the apartment fight breaks out. The exploration of the idea of the multiverse is interesting, and is handled about as well as you could handle it, I suppose, discounting Into the Spider-Verse and most likely Multiverse of Madness. The de-aging effects on display were also solid, particularly with Alfred Molina. Finally, the movie ends in a way that sets up for a great, classic, down-on-your-luck spider story. It's pretty charming. But now, onto the bad, which there is more than enough of. First of all, the Academy has to be on crack for nominating this movie for Best Visual Effects. The web swinging continues to look straight out of 2003 in No Way Home. I am baffled how Marvel movies can have such a step down in quality when compared to the Amazing Spider-Man movies, which are close to a decade old in their entirety at this point. Did Sony patent physics or something? Everything feels like rubber in No Way Home, and it certainly isn't stylized for each spider because all three of them look like the Rubber Band Man during the climax. Andrew's Spider-Man specifically received a huge downgrade when compared to the Amazing Spider-Man 2, but I guess he exchanged it for a redemption arc. Even Doc Ock's arms and Green Goblin's battlesuit looked noticeably worse at certain times than their counterparts of nearly 2 entire decades ago. 20 years. It is also impressive how clearly overworked and rushed the visual effects artists are, and I'm sure they're paid awfully too. Furthermore, the biggest problem this movie has is that it fundamentally cannot stand on its own. And sure, this is an issue with every MCU movie at this point, and to an extent, that is something you have to accept with sequels, which is fine. But this is the most egregious instance of reliance on nostalgia since The Force Awakens. And at least The Force Awakens was relying on movies that you actually knew were connected to the sequels going in. Like, I cannot understate how much of a crutch it is to have 80% of your cast come from movies that were completely unrelated and uninvolved in your franchise up until the moment they appeared in this movie. I am baffled, in all honesty, as to how this was not a larger point that was held against No Way Home. 2 of your 3 best performances aren't even from people in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Oh, can't make a great villain? I'll just borrow yours. I mean, No Way Home basically outsourced all of its character development to 2 completely different franchises, and everyone just collectively agreed it was not only acceptable, but good. And on the subject of character development, how did everyone let the Aunt May thing slide? I mean, she was just a punchline for 2 movies until the writers of this one decided it was time for Spidey to lose a loved one. So they completely rushed her into becoming some charity figure who for once doesn't have her entire character consist of ooga ooga, Aunt Woman hot. I commend them for trying, but it turns out more Spider-Man's hypersexualized aunt Marissa Tomei died instead of Spider-Man's emotional rock, the greatest woman he knows, was killed because of him. Which also, oddly enough, cut the amount of women in this movie in half. Yes, we are down to a singular woman. Spider-Man's greatest nemesis is in fact the Bechdel test. Last point, how is no one annoyed about the fact that they essentially cured cancer like 5 times inside 10 minutes of the movie? In a high school lab, no less? I get that these dudes are smart, but like, come on. Creating the miracle cure for one person, let alone 5, with almost zero effort in a movie is usually seen as a huge slight against it, and a huge point of critical contention. But No Way Home gets a pass for all this. In fact, it apparently deserves even more than a pass. It deserves billions of dollars at the box office, unprecedented critical and audience reception, and a phenomenal longevity in modern pop culture. Oh wait, it already got all of that too. So you're telling me it has to have its feelings hurt because it doesn't get a stupid little golden trophy? If that genuinely bothers you...
Oh, wow! Wow!
On to the fun part. After this did bother people who have yet to discover soil, there was an entire campaign to give No Way Home a consolation prize. For the 7 viewers who watched on Sunday, that's what the cheer-worthy moments and fan favorite awards were. They were created with the sole intention of giving people who are a little too into the Marvel Cinematic Universe a consolation prize. Disney and ABC basically planned to pat themselves on the back. Except that also crashed and burned horribly, because as unsettling as the MCU craze can be, there is far worse. James Corden. And also Zack Snyder fans. He seems okay as a person, but wow, his fans and films are something else. So obviously both groups completely barraged the Oscars voting system to make sure that if nothing else, their favorite turds would float instead of sink. So your final cheerworthy moments, which were displayed at the 2022 Oscars, were, and I am not even kidding here, number 5, Neo bullet dodging in The Matrix, which is from a movie that came out in the 1990s. Number 4, this moment of a woman singing. I have no idea how it got on this list, but congrats to it. Number 3, the Avengers assembling in Avengers Endgame, which is from a movie that came out in 2019. Number 2, all 3 spider people in No Way Home swinging together. Congrats on second place in the losers bracket, everyone. And number 1, finally, the moment we've all been waiting for, the most electric and energetic scene in cinema history, The Flash entering the Speed Force in Zack Snyder's Justice League? Surely this is a Moonlight La La Land situation, right? Has there been a mistake? No? You're telling me the movie that came out during a pandemic when there were no movies in theaters, where this moment happened 3.5 hours into the movie, where the Flash was running like this, is what got the greatest reaction from the non-existent audiences? The biggest reaction in movie history? The Industrial Revolution and its consequences have been a disaster for the human species. And oh boy, I hope you're ready for this shit all over again, because The Army of the Dead won fan favorite. Cinderella got 2nd place. No Way Home got 4th place. It lost to the movie where Zack Snyder discovered what shallow focus was, and then proceeded to use it incorrectly for over 2 hours. It lost to the movie where they foreshadow using a giant buzzsaw to kill zombies, then do not use said buzzsaw at all. It lost to the movie where the idea of a time loop is brought up and speculated on, and then never mentioned again. It lost to the movie where half of the zombies are cyborgs, which is something that is never once mentioned or explained, but apparently in the lore. It lost to the movie that says rain reanimates zombies in Las Vegas when they're staring upon a massive horde of dead carcasses all over the Las Vegas Strip, and then it never rains. And on top of that, according to the very same fan poll, No Way Home was worse than this.
Where's my tail? I can't balance without my tail!
So in conclusion, no matter where you stand, I am sure I have given you some instance or example of proving my point. Not everyone should have an opinion. You have a right to your opinion, that much is true. But in no way does your opinion command respect or even consideration, because in all likelihood, there is a high chance it could be bad or even downright dumb. My own thoughts are included in this generalization. And feel free to tell me how my own thoughts are dumb with the dislike button that YouTube has effectively neutered. That'll show me. At the end of the day, many of these devoted vote spammers and rich elitists in Hollywood are cut from the same cloth. They are both of the mind that they are simply above others in thought and in practice. Except for one group is actually wealthy, successful, talented, and experienced in their field, while the others unironically subject themselves to this.
Just gotta go faster than the speed of light, far beyond the speed of light. Gotta break the rule, Barry, and you gotta do it now.
Despite their differences, though, one thing can be true. Bullying is important. People are far too comfortable sharing their awful ideas with the world. But sometimes, in a rare, beautiful moment, these ideas have consequences. A slap in the face on live TV, for instance. And while I don't believe that Chris Rock deserved a smack across the face for his joke that I didn't even get at the time and that I saw Will Smith laughing at, it felt good, because there are so many people who just need their own version of being slapped by Will Smith because of the dumb shit they say. Until next time, I guess I'll go watch G.I. Jane now. Also, this last thing happened after I recorded and edited the entire video, but like, what the hell?